This podcast is a part of the More Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Leader Podcast by Pattern Talent, where we interview great leaders and we seek to understand leadership. I'm Brad McDonald.
And I'm Taylor Jessup, and we really hope that you enjoy this episode. Daily Leader Podcast, back with The Lounge.
Dude, what episode is it? What number are we on?
I don't know. We've had a few. We are recapping our 40th and 41st podcast. So, that's pretty good. Yeah. Apparently some people are still listening, which is nice. Thank you to whoever is still listening. Haven't totally tuned this out yet. Actually, we have more followers. And on that note, if you do like this pod, we do ask that you would follow us, subscribe, go through, watch and like all of our videos. Yes.
Remember Boy Meets World?
Yeah.
Remember Sean?
Yeah.
Remember Sean from Boy Meets World?
With his hair. Man.
Yeah.
Sean was so cool, man.
Yeah.
Really getting all those millennials on here. We could do a whole podcast on the genius that was Boy Meets World.
Dude, let's do the leadership of Mr. Feeney.
World. Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. Feeney. Feeney. Yeah. I know. Some people are like, what the heck are they talking about? And others are like, I know what that's like. I lived through the 90s. I grew up on that show. So, yes, please do like this podcast. And we do have a new community going on, group coaching, and an incredible space where you can jump in, continue the conversation off the podcast, discuss with past guests that have come on, and leverage that all the way into coaching if you are interested in that. If your question is, how could I transform myself, my team, my business, my organization, my family, we partner with people all the time, get shoulder to shoulder with them and help them do that. That's our favorite thing, is to partner alongside people and let them see that the answers lie within themselves. So on that note, we got a lounge episode. Any little jazz music here, where we recap some episodes. Today we're going to do episode 40 and 41. Brad, you want to talk to us a little bit about the episodes that we're going to do and what we do here on the lounge?
I sure do. But before that, I've got a little something up my sleeve for you today.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
Not even telling me this.
Respond to the statement. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Emotion is knowledge.
Emotion is knowledge. Well, if I was to respond to that, just Taylor, as I know we'll get into some more thoughts. I would say emotion is knowledge, and emotion is not trustworthy. Emotion, yeah.
Whoa.
I was actually just meeting with a client about this. So emotion is knowledge in terms of we can understand how we're thinking and how we're feeling. And if we are self-aware and we have the knowledge, that is fantastic. We can understand what's going on. That's where the knowledge comes. Where I see most people get stuck is when the emotion becomes truth. Like, emotions to me are just indicators. They are to give us the knowledge of how we're doing internally. And a friend just shared a little while back that their counselor, which I'm sure they're a good counselor, but was like, I just need you to sit in the emotion more. And I do think that there's a place for that. I'm a huge counseling person. But I'd also say you are not a victim of your emotions, which is the way I think most people might treat their emotions in 2024. You actually have the opportunity to sit with that emotion, be with it. It's really powerful. The sadness, the anger, the jealousy, the joy, the happiness, the peace, whatever it is, and realize that nevertheless, you can make a choice for yourself that's healthy and best. That you don't have to say, well, I am sad and therefore that informs my decision. I think we want to be able to make solid decisions regardless of our emotional state. I think this is a huge challenge in today's society is we insist systemically as people, we swing from one pendulum to the other. So for so long it was don't feel, and just choose and just keep moving forward. And we've swung all the way. And unfortunately, rather than landing in an equilibrium, we swing to the other side, which is just feel. What are you feeling? I'm like, that the healthy balance, in my opinion, is in the middle. So emotion is knowledge. Yes. What are we going to do with that knowledge, right? And are we going to be a victim of what we've just learned about ourselves, about the way that we're feeling? Or can we be the hero of our own story and choose the heroic option to make that choice even still? And the heroic option could be, hey, I am sad. I need to feel sad right now. And I'm going to journal and get through this and I'm going to whatever. But it could also be, I'm going to go for a run or pick up a book or do whatever. Anyways, long-winded answer. There's your kickoff, Brad.
All right, I got another one for you.
Okay, cool. Go.
Reality is always your friend. Respond to that statement, TJ.
Yeah, I would say it is, even if it doesn't feel like it.
Mm.
Often reality, we as people, we create narratives. We don't often actually live in reality as much as we think we do. We live in the reality that we've created for ourselves. And so if we can actually get current with what reality really is, not what we tell ourselves it is, then the reality can be my friend. Because the truth will set you free, right? That's what we've been told. The actual truth about the situation can set me free. So I can either live in what I've told myself is true, which is maybe even, and this is the hard part for me about this, and I think for most people. Most people are not sitting here going, whatever I believe, like they believe it to be true. Have you ever talked to somebody about something and you just talk to them and they're saying it like it's pure gospel? And you're like, that is not even close to the truth. Well, in their mind, they have written a story that says that this is true and they believe it and they live it out. So to be able to step outside of that, to look at it and go, okay, current reality, the actual current reality is X, not the story I'm telling myself about it. That can be really empowering because if I know where I'm currently at, then I can get current, I can understand where I really am, and then I can get clear on where I want to go and see if those two places are aligning. So yes, reality is always your friend. It just doesn't always feel good. And most of the time it doesn't, which is why we tell ourselves other stories.
The truth will set you free, Taylor, but first it will make you miserable.
Mm,
The
yes,
truth is a chocolate-covered razor blade.
it can be. Yeah, it can be. I don't know that it always is, but it definitely can be, right? Like sometimes we're missing the truths that are actually really fantastic right in front of us, like all the things that I have to be grateful for. That's a truth too, you know? And it's a truth that we actually don't want to see. Often because it doesn't go very well with whatever our narrative is. So I'm sad
Yeah.
about life and I don't want to see the joy. But
Oh, it's good.
yes, you are right. Like the, the the reason why we tell ourselves stories that are different than the truth is because the truth is often hard to swallow. It hurts. I heard this. Uh, the truth may be painful, but it's never harmful.
Good.
Like
Like Romanian split squats.
sure,
Painful, but not harmful.
yeah. I mean, unless done incorrectly, potentially. But I mean, I kind of like that. It was a counselor of mine that said that years ago. Hey, the truth may hurt, right? But it's not going to harm. You go, well, that's not true. It harm might no, it may hurt. It may cause a divorce. It may, cause your business to go under, or it may cause you to take a real look at your life, or may cause you to go, I need to go to the gym, or may cause you to, lose a friend. But it's not harmful. Like it's not putting your life at risk. And in fact, probably not looking at it, not being honest about what the actual truth is. That's potentially harmful.
Good stuff, man. No
Have
prep.
fun. No
I
prep.
like it.
Yeah, never prep. That's
James, Rustin, and Shane.
yeah.
We had so much fun with James Lawrence, didn't we? What a guy. Race car driver, pilot, multi-business founder.
Yep.
What a stud.
Man.
Creator of Happy, co-founder and creator of Happy.
Yep. Which
And
is cool name. Because I'm happy, clap along
so,
if you
they don't want to
feel
hear
like
that.
it.
Nobody
Yeah, they
wants
do.
to hear
That's
that.
good singing.
Um,
Okay.
My window's open and one of my neighbors is driving a go-kart around the neighborhood. Can you hear that? Is that
No.
annoying?
No, I
You
can't hear
can't.
it.
Wonderful. Well, good. Well, I
I can hear it.
can. And I hope he's having fun because he's really making it difficult for me to record a podcast right
Oh gosh, good for
now. So
him.
there's that.
Good for him.
Okay. Doing is being.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thought. I mean, we talked about this on our most recent episode with Dan Tokini that you can't really separate the things that we put in there,
Right.
which we
Yeah,
do on
yeah.
purpose because we're real jerks. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is a very interesting thought. Like, my doing is coming out of my being. So my actions are a result of the way that I'm being, right? So, um, I think, he talked about like, "Hey, are people gonna follow what you say? Only if it's what you do." Like, that's the only way that that happens, right? Because I mean, I've been this person where I say one thing and I do another, and, that is hard to follow. Like, people's BS meters are up, man. They're gonna catch you. So, I don't know. I mean, my initial reaction to it was like, yeah, that actually is a good thought. My doing will come out of like doing is being because my being, the way that I am showing up and presencing myself, that is what I'm going to do. Like, that is how I'm going to interact. So my doing, when I do my work, that is my general way of being. Like that's what's coming out. So I don't know. That was my initial take. I thought it was a great thought. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it tracks what you model for people is more important than the words that you say to them. That's just human nature is we can listen to someone say something, but we find integrity in the way that their behavior aligns with what they've said. We
Yeah,
don't go back to someone and say, "Well, you need to change the way you speak." We go back to someone and we say, "Hey, your actions don't match your words."
sure.
Right? So there's a tension there. And I think that yeah, we have to work towards aligning our behaviors with the truths that we espouse. Um, he said something interesting too. He kept referring to this idea that I think was right along these lines, which was cultural, um, pardon it, it was organizational DNA. And it was like his way of talking about culture.
Mhm.
Do you remember how he kind of defined that idea or what he said organizational DNA is all about?
You know, a little bit. I mean, I know he talked about being the actions of your leaders, right? Of that's how we're going
That's
to
right.
create the we are going to create the which makes sense, right? Like you don't like your DNA is that of your leadership on your team. So the leader can't act one way and then expect everybody else to be different,
That's right.
right? Which
Yeah,
is which is interesting because if we want our DNA to, at its core, be about service, then the leader needs to serve. If we want it to be about customer experience, then the leader needs to be great at customer experience. But not just in a way of like, okay, I can do this, but like in a way that they actually do that. Like, I kind of wonder what it would have been like to have a conversation with Steve Jobs about the iPhone. Like, I bet he was because he was fascinated by it, right? He was just fascinated by technology, what it can do, simplifying our lives, connecting it. So I bet he was just the best when it comes to and that's infectious. Now that can be your DNA. If he's passionate about it, everybody can be passionate about it, right? So if you're disconnected, the chances that your team is disconnected are pretty high, right? I mean, those are my kind of like initial takeaways that I thought like was like, man, yeah, the way that you're so if you want a team that has a great culture, define what you want that culture to be and then live that out. Right. I don't
yeah.
know.
He said exactly that. Your culture or your organizational DNA is built by the actions of your leaders. How do
Yep.
they respond to disappointment when we don't perform well and we fall short of our goals? When we hire, when we fire because we made a bad hiring decision?
Yeah.
All of those things ultimately build this genetic code that is our organizations. And he said something else about the way that our actions relate to people. And he basically said, if you remember, like we're doing slow burn, we're giving him the results of relationships paradigm. And he was like, hey, like this is a bad, he was like, this is a stupid question, more or less.
Mm,
He was like, I grade this question a 3.
yeah,
And we were like, okay, well, why is this such a dumb paradox? And he basically said that results are achieved by people. So he really kind of turned this idea on its head and said, look, even the thought that you would have some kind of results without really high quality people is just a completely wrong thought. You can never prioritize your results over your people because of that.
sure.
So he had a very strong visceral reaction to that I loved. I loved his approach to that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea. I mean, we're Chick-fil-A people, right? People before profits. And I add on there all the time, and the profits will take care of themselves, right? If you really want something, go live it, go show it, go be that for your team. Your team can then live and be in that. Then you can see the results. Like I think people are often wondering, why am I not getting the results that I was hoping for? And my response would be, well, let's take a look inside you.
It's good.
Are you getting the results that you are looking for out of yourself? Right? Are you showing up the way that you want to show up? Are you, because typically a lot of times the answer is, well, no, I'm not. Go, okay, great. Well, then if you're not, then how would the people that are following you not like or get there? How would they get like a team cannot transcend its leader? Like the DNA of the team is the leadership that flows down from the top. That's how it works. Doesn't work the other way. Now it can. It can you can have somebody really cool that affects, people from higher up, but you know, wherever the head goes, the body's gonna follow, man. So yeah, I like the way that he flipped that around, man. People like you don't get results without people. You could even create a bot, I guess, right now and AI, but even still, it's people that got you there in the first place.
That's
So
right.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a great I mean, James he was a man, race car driver, first race car driver we've had on. Adrenaline junkie, multiple and just the product itself I thought was pretty cool, to be able to integrate and give you some coaching and some direct feedback back on your communication based on, you know, um, kinda their evaluations and what that looks like. That's a pretty unique product, if you're interested in it, you can definitely check out our show notes from that episode, go back to that, it might be in these show notes too, but, um, I think feedback is so important and being able to give that and leverage assessments, which I don't think we do very well, is pretty cool. So,
He said a PDF is where an assessment goes to die.
yeah, sure. It goes
I
to your
love that
desk.
line.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Goes to your desk and it collects dust, That's what it does. So, anyway,
Shane and Rustin,
dude,
does hard work pay off? What are your thoughts?
man, sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes the payoff for hard work is hard work.
Yeah, I mean, you know, pay what, I think was his question, right? Like,
That's how Shane reacted. Yeah. Shane was like, wait a second.
yeah.
Answer your question with a question.
Yes, yes. Okay, if I work really hard, is the payoff I get to go to the NBA? Not necessarily, even if you practice your jump shot every day.
Not when you're the average female height. It's just not in the cards.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You'll get there, I'm sure. Um,
Actually, I won't.
oh, Brad,
I
don't
really
don't
won't.
don't sell yourself short, all right?
Tudum-tsh.
Um, yeah, I mean, hard work always pays off, but it doesn't necessarily write the check that you were hoping that to cash. Like intrinsically, and I think that this is the hard part is like, you can do the right thing and not get the right result all the time.
Yeah. When something turns out horribly, I'm inclined to think I never should have done the thing. Oh, it was a mistake to do this.
Yeah, like that's the feedback. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's a rookie mistake though, right? Because just because something doesn't turn out well doesn't mean it wasn't the right choice in the moment. It wasn't the right pursuit. It just and this goes right along with one of the key points that Rustin made, which is results are just data.
Yeah.
It's just data. It just tells you how you performed against a particular goal. If whether or not you achieve the goal, it doesn't necessarily tell you about all of the other things that we oftentimes extrapolate from a failure.
Sure. Yeah, we read a bunch of stories about failure, right?
Totally.
And I think too often we want the day to day to be tied to a particular result, which we all need a goal, right? I think that we all need something to shoot for. Um, but a healthy question could often be, "Hey, could you do this? Like, would you still be willing to do the same thing if you weren't like going to get the results that you wanted in the end? Would you still do it?" And I think a lot of times we might healthily say
No.
no, right? Yeah.
Right.
But could you just do it because it's good for you? Like the pursuit of something is good for you. Could you? Could you see it as just data? I mean, we talked very on the way back to episode number 3, you know? We talked with Josiah about Kobe Bryant and him kinda saying the same thing. It's like, what is failure? And you could there's different approaches to say the same thing. "Hey, failure is the best lesson that we could ever have." Thomas Edison had to fail, 10,000 times before he made the light bulb. Like, not they I found 10,000 ways to not make a light bulb, I think was his, or not make a yeah, that was it, right? Like, there's different ways to spin it, but the idea is kind of the same as oftentimes we get disheartened because we didn't get the result that we were hoping for, which makes sense. And
Yeah,
honestly, you
that's exactly right.
probably should be a little disheartened. Like, if you weren't, I would also wonder, well, how much did you invest in it? It's like if
How
you're
much did
working
you want that particular goal?
yeah, yeah, but at
But
the end of the day
disappointment is a big part of development. It's, the learning how to flex the muscle of I didn't get what I want. I didn't get what I hoped for. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Well, how do I advance with a sick heart? Right? How do I move forward even though things didn't line out the way that I expected or wanted?
yeah, it goes all the way back to, the emotions that we talked about at the beginning. Like, that emotion, disappointment, sadness, anger, whatever it is, how do I not become a victim of that, where that directs my next choice?
Right.
No, it can inform it. It should inform it,
Yeah, and
your failure should inform it, but
that's a great point because the data that results produce should be interpreted and teased out. Well, they can't just automatically tell us, who we are. They don't automatically tell us anything about our identity. They don't automatically tell us anything about if whether or not, we have good character,
uh,
let's say. Um, they don't necessarily tell us if we made a right or a wrong choice or if we are a success or a failure, broadly speaking. They still need to be analyzed and, brought into our future considerations.
yeah.
So I
Yeah,
I completely agree with that.
you lose a game, if you're a professional athlete, you lose a game, you don't go, "God, we lost that one, let's just throw away the tape." You go, "No, okay, lost that one, now we gotta move forward, so let's go back real quick, learn what we can from that." But the deal is you have to keep moving forward, right? It really only like, the failure only harms us, in my opinion, is, like, when we get stuck. We get afraid, then we stop moving forward. It's like, "Okay, great, well, it didn't go the way that I wanted, so let's keep moving forward, let's keep going towards something." Like, that is what we have to do as humans, like, that is the call of being a human being, is you can either move forward or, my coach in high school would be like, "You can either get better or get worse, there ain't no third direction." You know? Yeah, that's kinda what it is, and I mean, that is, like what if you created a culture like that for your team, where failure was just data? I think the I think the fear as a leader is if I had that, people aren't they're not gonna be motivated enough to succeed. Like, but we talked about with Shane before that fear is, an okay motivator, but it will never sustain us.
That's right. Yeah. And Rustin spoke to that point. He said something like fear will mobilize us, but
Yeah,
it won't sustain us.
there it is.
And I thought that was a very clear way of stating that. Justin talked a lot about Justin Benson, who we already reviewed, talked a lot about toxic fuel and how that toxic fuel is like very explosive. You know, you get a lot of velocity out of that toxic fuel very quickly, you know, but man, like it's a dirty burn and
Yeah.
and it
It's gonna clog up
pollutes,
your engine. Yeah.
right? It pollutes all parts of your life. And so, man, that was such a fun, such a good conversation. And these were two bangers, man.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I mean, the reminder that the way that I show up, what I'm doing is the way that I'm being, and the reminder that like, okay, great, I have to work hard and I'm operating in my best self when I can work hard and not succumb to whatever the failure is. So,
That's right.
man, those were both very like powerful episodes. They're transparent episodes. Um, I think if you are listening, you're still here with Brad and I, go back and listen to them. There's some really, really good stuff in there. And Happy's a really cool company. What Shane and Rustin are both doing is really, really cool. Pretty special. You can always go to Shane's house and connect with him more about that. But man, I think that's a pretty good flyover, man. Any parting word of wisdom from Brad McDonald?
The only thing I can think of is like, subscribe, comment, share. That's all I got. We'll see you next time, guys.
Yep.